Welcome back to Glow with TJ. Today, we're going into part two of this series about keeping promises to yourself. So, today I'd like to talk about okay, so why is keeping a promise to yourself, why is it important? Well, when we think about having a relationship with someone else, being in relationship with someone else, and it doesn't I'm not necessarily meaning romantic, but when we have relationships, they're built on trust. And maybe trust is given right away, maybe if that's the kind of person you are, or maybe trust has to be earned and built one block at a time. It's the same thing with a relationship with yourself. The things that we say we're going to do when we are in relationship with someone else, when we do those things, we strengthen that trust. We continue to build and deepen and improve the relationship. And when we don't follow through with the promise, trust can become a little iffy, right? It starts to chip away at that. Maybe there was a good reason that it happened, but it still does affect the level of trust in the relationship. It changes things a bit. The same thing happens when you're in relationship with yourself. Maybe breaking one promise to yourself is not a big deal. Because as I've said before, we are human and things happen. And one broken promise may not be a big deal when you're talking about promising yourself things. But when you talk about the things that happen consistently like that, chronically, if you will, that happen every day or many days, many weeks, many months, they turn into years, you start chipping away at the relationship you have with yourself. And that can mean things like not believing that you will actually do something or that you actually can do something because you keep telling yourself you're going to do it, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then when you don't show up for yourself, when you don't follow through with that, you start building this evidence bank that says, I can't or I won't do this. And excuse me, that can come in to play, that can come in and start to not only erode your self-trust, but it can chip away at your confidence in yourself. I think back to times when maybe I didn't always call it a relationship with myself, but when I used to have a quite frequent and very negative self-talk loop, putting myself down for so many things and pretty much everything I did. It was never good enough in my mind. And when I began to shift that, I saw a different way that I could be. But then sometimes when I would get backed into a corner, my defenses would come up. Maybe my husband and I were having an argument, or I disappointed someone in some way. I would kind of start reverting back to those things of I'm never good enough, going back to that. And then I began to shrink again. So I was working on it. It was getting better. And then something happened and I pulled back. And then that started, in a sense, it started everything over again. I had to work at it to become in better relationship with myself. And I say all of this to show that you are not alone, that it happens to so many of us, and also to say that it can be changed. We have to put in the time, we have to put in the effort, and this is not something that happens overnight. This is something, rebuilding trust, rebuilding a relationship is something that takes time. It requires patience, it requires effort, it requires flexibility. And that's why keeping promises to yourself, the small ones that happen day to day, are important to building that relationship, but building that evidence bank that says, look, I showed up for myself today. Look, I showed up for myself today. And over time, then you can look back and say, I do show up for myself. I have shown up for myself. And then you begin to trust yourself. And then maybe when you have a decision, like a career decision that needs to be made, you know that you either can do this, like, okay, I know I can show up for myself, put in the effort, and take this path, which might be a little harder, or know that this path is not going to be right for me. I need to take this one, or whatever it might be. You'll be able to see that because you've been building this evidence bank that proves to yourself, I believe in myself. I do the things for myself. And I'm confident in the decisions that I make and in what I need and what I want my life to look like. And you'll recognize when opportunities are not for you. So I know that's an awful lot of information to give. And so just take that in a little bit, sit with that. Maybe notice where those promises that I asked you to write down that you've kind of broken to yourself, maybe take a look at them and see which ones have had a greater impact on you. And just take note of that. There's no need to change it or fix it at this point. Awareness, becoming aware of it is so important. And so I'm glad that you have taking this moment to watch this and then maybe take that moment and just check in and allow yourself to be honest with yourself with compassion. All right, I'm going to leave you here for now. Thanks for spending time with me, and I'll see you next time.